This episode is proudly sponsored by Next Level Sports, delivering the best youth sports experience. If you have a young, aspiring athlete in first through seventh grade, this is your chance to get on the field with Next Level Flag Football at UC Davis. All teams are coached by a current UC Davis Aggies football player, giving kids real mentorship from the same student athletes who practice and play on the same field within the Aggies football program. All activity takes place at UC Davis Health Stadium, so you get the full game day experience every week. Whether your participant is brand new to the sport or already obsessed with football, Next Level focuses on skill building, teamwork, and growth. It's an incredible way to build confidence, make friends, and learn from true role models. Registration for the 2026 Next Level Spring Flag Football and Winter Volleyball seasons at UC Davis are now open. Spots are going fast, so sign up today at nextlevelsports.com. Give your athlete the best youth sports experience. All right, well, welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Dwight and I are here for a special pod late in the season. The Ags are rolling per usual, and we're excited to have on one of our sponsors and a former Ag himself, none other than CEO of Next Level Sports, Lance Smith. Lance, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Big week, big time game week this week, guys.
Yeah, every week feels bigger and bigger, especially with the way the program has been going, and we're going to get to that in our chat. But yeah, Lance, just fired up to have another Smith on the show, and specifically to have you on the show. And if you listen to the pod, which I know you have, we get to talk to so many incredible people like yourself who have different layers of connection to Aggie Pride. And so that's always the beating heart, but those stories take us into our lives. And we always like to go back to the beginning, right? And so as we get into the conversation, just want to invite you to talk a little bit about your love for football, your love for sport, and where that came from. Take us back to the beginning, wherever that was, and how that led up to your time at UC Davis and becoming an Aggie.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, good place. So yeah, I guess I would go back. I grew up in Redding, California. The heartbeat of California, right? Not really.
True Northern California.
Legitimately true Northern California. Yeah, but I grew up there. My dad, my dad played college football at Humboldt State, the annex of true Northern California. So football, always as a kid, I was always around, obviously, the game. It was a big part of, my dad's life growing up. He was a undersized center. I would always he'd tell my brother and I about it. I have an older brother, and he would always, talk about his accolades back at Humboldt State. I think he oddly, he grew up playing in a time when, John Madden, everyone, I don't know if you guys generationally know why John Madden used to take the bus, but it was a tragic event, and his team at Cal Poly passed away in a, airplane accident. And so my dad was, at the same time he was at Humboldt State, he actually offered to come down and to play at Cal Poly in after that event. Neither here nor there with me, but the influence of it, with him, and then my brother and I growing up, we started playing Pop Warner, for the crazy powerful powerhouse of the Enterprise Eagles, based out of Redding. And, for me, the big catalyst was not only, obviously my dad, my brother, the whole thing as kids, but do you remember Jason Sehorn? So Jason Sehorn, he was a standout at Shasta College. He was from McLeod. And so those first couple of years that I played Pop Warner, we would always go out, as an Enterprise Eagle, we played on the same field as at Shasta College. And so, I don't know, their games were on Saturdays or whatever day they were. But you'd always, back then as a kid, you'd put your jersey on, you'd go out and you watch. I thought I was Jason Sehorn because he would return kicks. He was a wide receiver, the whole bit. And then the next day I got to go play my Pop Warner game, and I was Jason Sehorn. So it was, it was all around, right? I mean, that was kind of as kids, I mean, we didn't have much to do other than kick sticks and throw rocks and do other things in Reading anyway. So it was ride our bikes and do that stuff and whatnot. But, from an early age, just had that influence. I think then growing up, kind of when I got to high school and whatnot, I had the opportunity to coach some kids like in middle school at the local, one of the local middle schools. And I actually had a flag football team that I coached there. I think, I was probably like a junior or senior or something, which kind of connected me even further to, the things I do today. Then came time to come to UC Davis, and obviously my experience there was tremendous, because I got out of Reading, so the big bustling town of Davis at that time. And you guys are younger than I am, but I still think from what I'm told, I still think it's a thing, is like intramural. Intramurals at Davis are pretty competitive, and at least in my area, we were immortalized in the rec hall at the time, right? So if you won an intramural championship, you got your picture on the wall for 10 years. Like, it stayed. Now, I don't think it stayed in the same spot though. I think they moved them around or whatnot. But, I had all this enthusiasm. I thought I was Jason Sehorn. I wasn't. Go to Davis. I got a picture on the wall literally fall of my freshman year. Freshman flag football won the championship. And so my dorm mates or whatever, I think, we won. We thought we were pretty badass. So spring rolls around, we played spring flag football, and we played against, I think Kahari Jones was the quarterback then. And, I was a wide receiver, but I ended up, I was our quarterback on our flag football team. And I think I threw 4 picks in like the first 5 passes that I threw. Got absolutely annihilated by Kahari and the boys. And he did wear his gold cleats, I think, for flag football too. So anyway, tons of influence, but, those are some of the catalysts. Dad at Humboldt State, Jason Sehorn at Shasta College, and Enterprise Eagles, and always been a lifelong Niner fan and whatnot too. So a lot of football. So
that's so awesome. Couple of follow-ups. Like, we're both Smiths, and so I knew there would be more things we had in common. And just listening to your intro there, it's become clear. I too, was like, I got to get on the wall, and it was at the Arc, the kind of the new building when we were there. And so my freshman year, Lance, before I ended up walking onto the football team, freshman fall quarter, got to play with the squad called the Dingoes. Shout out to any Dingoes that are listening to this episode. But I got on that wall too. So, it's something very special to get on the wall for flag. And then there's so many other great sports in the intramural program. So shout out to the intramural program at Davis.
Oh yeah.
They do an incredible job.
How about inner tube water polo? That's a big one. I mean, I had an inner tube water polo championship too. I had 2, by the way, inner tube water polo and flag football. So
okay, I don't have 2. Hey, I just got the 1. But I was curious. Reading. I've got a great buddy up in Reading, Todd Jones. I've been able to visit there. Beautiful, beautiful place. 3-ish hours from Sac and Davis, but what went into kind of take us back to that decision around coming to Davis? Was that always something that was in the family? Was there family history with Davis? Were you looking at other programs? Like, talk us through that decision to take your talents to Davis and to become an Aggie.
Yeah, interesting. I don't think I've been asked that in a long time. Yeah, why Davis? Well, back then, I have 2 kids and they're both in college right now. So back then, when you applied to, colleges, whatever, you picked like 2 or 3 or something like that. You didn't apply to like 20 schools. Like, I know my son applied to like 20 schools, but yeah. So my older brother was up at Oregon State. He was a civil engineer. My dad's a civil engineer and big construction company, roads, bridges, and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Although I actually believe I got into Davis as a civil engineering major. So it was like, all right, well, Davis is kind of close to home, but it's far enough away. So there was that. Okay, there was Oregon State. I think so. I got it accepted to be a Beaver, and I'd go hang out with my brother. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Corvallis. Although we do like Corvallis. They are a next level partner at Oregon State. So we're big fans. but it was a little too cold for me. That little valley fog, it was always like root cold up there. And then I was like, all right, well, Colorado seems cool. How about Boulder? So I'm like, yeah. I used to mountain bike and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, well, let's go to Colorado. I think those are the three schools. Maybe I applied to University of Washington too. I may have. And I was like, I don't think I'd ever step foot at the University of Washington. And it came time, it was like Colorado, Davis, or Oregon State. I'm like, UC. Hey, I'll go there. I don't want to say that was all it, but I think, even at that time, it was probably a more academic place. It's interesting because I don't know. I still don't know what I want to do in life. So I don't know if you guys had all this direction and purpose when you were 18, but, back then, I think I was like 16 or 17. Magic Johnson had contracted HIV and he announced that he had HIV and he was HIV positive. And that was kind of the era then. And like, I was really, really impacted by that because I was like, man, here's like one of the greatest sports figures of the time, like at the peak of his game. And, the Showtime Lakers. You guys remember watching the Showtime Lakers games? I'm sure you remember watching the Kings and the Powder Blues with Wayman Tisdale and all those guys. But anyway, the Lakers, Magic, there was nothing more prominent than, a Magic Bird matchup, the Celtics, Lakers and whatnot. And it kind of hit me. And I was like, Davis, I know at that time, and Davis was so big in the sciences and whatnot that, I was like, man, maybe that's what my calling is life, is to go find a cure for cancer, to work on something like that. And, even though I did get in as a civil engineering major, I flipped to genetics pretty quickly. I took like 1 or 2 genetics classes and played with some fruit flies, and I'm like, nah, I'm out. And then I got a degree in neurobiology, or in PB. So neurobiology, physiology, and behavior. But, so it was all kind of, I don't know, to answer the question as a Smith, like we ramble on, but, yeah, so that was kind of the reason and rationale. It was far enough away from home. It was close enough to it. It was great academically. I didn't really spend a lot of time in Davis, more in SAC, and I think it was just kind of a natural egress to get a little further. And I just kept moving south in my life. So Redding, Davis, the Bay Area. And then I stopped. I've dropped anchor thus far. So the next stop will be Hawaii. I had to go across the ocean, I think.
Hey, that's a great next stop. No, I think that was great. And just to take it a click further, like you said, you're 17, 18 years old, prefrontal cortex is still maturing, right? It's like such a pivotal time in life. You have these foundational experiences connected to sport through family, through other things. You mentioned being involved in intramurals, but those 4 or 5 years are so pivotal for the rest of our lives, as we know. And like, guys on the team are going through that right now, and freshmen are navigating, getting ready for whatever their next midterm is and how to have a social life. So talk a little bit about those 4+ years in your life and how your time at Davis really formed and shaped you.
Yeah, man. I loved it. It's cool. It's cool you asked that question, because I loved my time there. I loved going to school there. You think back now, it's like all the interests that you have in life, like, you're like, oh, was Davis ideal for me? Or like, would it be idyllic for me to go there now? And you ask that when you graduate and stuff. I'm like, man, I wouldn't change anything. Like, I truly, truly, truly wouldn't change the experience that I had. I think it, like anything, like you said, is those freshmen on the football team, or, any freshman that's there, they're just trying to get their legs, and you try to understand who you are. And, Davis is so strong on the academic side of things. And it's gotten even more so since I've left. I think I'm very fortunate, from your generation, the generations come after you guys keep building up the name. It's now, we were top 25, top 30. Now you guys are all putting in the top 10, top 15, top whatever public schools. It's cool. And again, it's just I feel like it's a really pretty easy place to go to school. There's enough distractions. You can get into enough stuff. You can go over to Sacramento. You can go to, whatever things. You can go out. You can go out to a nice dinner. You can go out to a club. You can go to a bars. There aren't a ton of bars, and never were in Davis. So, but if you get in trouble, man, there's only so much trouble you can get into. And I think that's kind of a good thing, right? I guess too, is having, again, I just got back from USC Parents Weekend. It was USC Parents Weekend this past weekend. My son's in a fraternity at USC, and like, what a different world, right? And so, Davis was cool for me. I kind of fit me, probably personality wise. And I didn't have a big aspiration to go to Cal like a lot of kids in the Bay Area did. Berkeley's weird. It's cool, but it's weird. Um, I probably fit better now in adulthood than I did as a kid. And being from Reading, man, it was a great outdoors. And I think it just, Davis kind of gave me a blend of that. It wasn't too much when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. By the time I got done or my last year in school there, it was time to go. I was ready to go, but I met you guys at the football game a couple weeks ago, I think. And to see it now and to be able to go back after some time, I think I went to maybe one picnic day, in 15, 20 years or something like that. But to go back now and to be proud of our sports program, to be proud of our university, to be proud of the things like you guys had the ARC, you had all these cool things, all these new dorms. I mean, it's cool to see the city grow up too. There's so many more people there, and there's some crazy cool businesses that come out of there. The rumor was back. I don't know if you guys ever surfed before. You ever gone surfing?
Yeah,
it's
oh,
okay.
yeah.
It's okay.
Love surfing.
So surf wax. Okay. So everybody knows Mr. Zog surf wax, Mr. Zog sex wax, right? Which is surfboard wax. So apparently one of the chemistry professors at Davis, when I was a freshman, it was this guy lived down in Southern California and he would commute up, he would fly his little Cessna up there and he would teach chemistry. What was the guy that invented Mr. Zog sex wax?
Wow.
I'm like, Davis has got that. They've got the Flavor Saver tomato. They've got Mr. Zog's. You wouldn't think that Davis has got Mr. Zog's sex wax, but we claim ownership to that.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, man. So listen,
yeah.
I think Davis prepares you for stuff like that, right? He can go do anything. So
right on.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. And I think that's a perfect segue because I want to circle back to UC Davis football because it's a UC Davis football podcast. But we've had so many different guests on who've done different things with their lives. And the connection with Next Level is really interesting. And we want to hear about that. But we're not there yet. You even talk about what you majored in, which is too big for me to say, and a sociology major over here and a community and regional development major. Not to put you down, Dwight, you are a smart human being. But I really want to know, upon graduation, what was the winding road to get to Next Level? Where has life taken you professionally? And then we'll kind of get back to the UC Davis stuff.
Yeah. Man, good question. Pungent one too. What was a different time? I mean, there's always different eras and different times, right? Consulting, there used to be Anderson Consulting, a few other big firms would come in to recruit out of Davis. And, I was all over the board. If anything, again, football podcast, but maybe it goes all to the football fans, but just college students in general. I've been an entrepreneur, I wasn't immediately out of school, if you will, but, now, and I think whether you're in, what was Dwight, what are you, recreational management, what parks and rec services, what,
hey, listen for all the
I just don't know. I just curious.
I have yeah, they're piling it on here, folks. I got a bachelor's of science in community and regional development.
Okay. Community. Okay. So, we can use you at Next Level right now. So
Dwight's legit.
I get it. But so listen, to me, again, I'm getting off the question, but to me, it's teaching you a way to think, right? What your degree is about a process and about how you think or how you process information or what you process and where you do it, how you do it, whatever. At least that's what it was for me. So, post college, again, I have this, I'm studying neurobiology. People are like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I never wanted to be a doctor ever. There was no inkling of wanting to be a doctor ever. And some people will come in here and tell you, oh, he's lying, whatever, that you only do that. No, I had no desire to be a doctor. In fact, I had an internship. I thought I wanted to, or I don't know. I tried. I went and had an internship in at UC Davis Hospital in cardiac rehabilitation. And I put that cuff, the blood pressure cuff on a guy that had 2 heart attacks. And I'm like, I look at the nurse, I'm like, I can't, you're trying to get the blood pressure and you're like, you have to pump it up, 200, some, whatever. I couldn't. I'm like, dude, I can't do this. I can't be around this. Like, this is not me. This is for somebody else. So I'm like, okay, doctor, check. No, not doing that. Get that out, Sharpie. I worked in the human performance lab for a couple years, which was really cool, actually. So even though I was on the science side of it, you did have the exercise science division that's over there in Hickey Gym. Is that still there, by the way? Still got to be
It,
there. I don't know what you guys
it
think.
was as of a couple years ago. I don't know if they've moved it over to the EFAC.
On the other side.
Yeah.
So, I worked over there for a professor, Dr. Paul Mollet, and he's since deceased, died several years ago, 10, 15 years ago. But man, Dr. Mollet was like, what super cool guy. He was this Peruvian dude, is a world-renowned exercise science, professor, and just guy. Was like hardcore in his research, and he was very enabling to me to I started working for him in the lab, and then next thing I know, I'm like assisting running some experiment with him and doing stuff, and it was all about, again, exercise physiology. So how do we increase body performance and whatnot. And we worked on something that was like eccentric and concentric muscle action to your leg. Like, what's the most efficient form? Basically, think of it like your bicep is like a hinge, right? Is it more efficient to flex or to pull, push, pull, whatever? Effectively, that's the dumbed down version of that for the, not for you, Dwight, but, just in general. So I was fortunate that I did that, and he was fully enabling for me to go see and to present the research in some capacities at a, I don't call it a trade show, but a research show or whatever it was, a research event. And I was like, God, I could keep doing that, and that would be super cool. But it wasn't. I'm like, am I going to be a lab coat guy? Am I going to be like, where am I going to work? Like, what is this going to lead to? Am I going to go work at the Gatorade Sports Science Institute? Like, that'd be kind of cool, but like, I don't even know where Gatorade's headquartered. So outside of that, I was like, shit, I don't know. And ultimately, I kind of bounced around. I did some internships, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, well, I'll take the LSAT. Maybe I'll go to law school. Took the LSAT, applied to law school, got into law school. I'm like, I don't know. That doesn't sound super cool either. Then, I had all these big companies would come in. I remember interviewing. I was like, maybe I'll go into consulting. I'll interview at Anderson Consulting. And I'm like, that didn't work out. They didn't hire me. I got a job offer from Genentech to like that big production facility that's there in Vacaville off 505. Like that, it was just starting to open, and they wanted me to work graveyard. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And then I ended up getting a job at Franklin Templeton. So I was part of this like management trainee program. And here's the cool thing, like any wise college student would do, is I got done, I graduated, and I was like, well, I'd kind of like to stay an extra quarter, right? So just to kind of screw around in Davis a little bit and just be a kid, which I think more college students should these days, as opposed to trying to get too old too quick. And that allowed me to kind of mess around if I wanted to go like travel or do whatever. But the job offer at Franklin didn't start until like the next August. So I was like, this is cool. And I stayed in Davis for like one semester. I got a minor in Aggie Con business stuff, finished off a couple classes. And then I got so bored of being in Davis, just like all my buddies had left, and like people were gone. I'm like, this is terrible. So I came down to the Bay, and I actually got a job at Electronic Arts. So EA Sports, Madden. I was part of this derivative of the Madden team that we worked on a fantasy football stat analyzer. So it was called the EA Sports Edge. This is in the ripe year of this is like January of '98. How about that? Yeah, I don't even know if you guys were born yet. Don't answer that.
I was 10, and I'm already gonna name drop. EA Sports is a big company, but did you work with Randy Coddington?
No.
Oh, okay. He was
I
my
don't
high
think
school
so.
football coach, and he worked there for a good number of years during that time too. But
He was probably way up.
big company. No,
Yeah, he might have been he might have been way up there. I was like way down here. I
No.
was just
Dwight and I were in
dude
the
over on-
prime of our lives. We were like rocking middle school at that time.
nice.
Yeah,
Well,
we
you were
got
crushing.
we were on the last '80s babies wave, so that'll give you a
You
sense.
you were locked in on Madden though. See, you were
yeah.
starting to play fantasy football and all that stuff. So that's what took me. That's what brought me down to the Bay. I worked at EA for like 6 months, 7 months, and then I honored the job over at Franklin Templeton. I was at Franklin Templeton for about a little over a year, and that was but it was such a different time. I fortunately, this is, down kind of the internet, bubble, internet 1.0, the first wave through. And, um, I jumped into a startup, an internet startup. It was a marketing based startup back when money was just flowing everywhere. It was either that or going into investment banking. So I was kind of interviewing on both sides. And, um, I had like 3 or 4 job offers in the, startup, which is like, dude, it's crazy. We interview a lot of, a lot of recent graduates and whatnot now. And I mean, just the job market relative to what it was back then, man, it was just a wild west. So many people were just looking for people, and they were looking for good-minded, bright-minded people. And you think about this now, is here I am, this like neurobiology, physiology, behavior guy, like NPB science guy. Maybe I'll go to law school. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. I didn't know. And I was just like, go, the thesis there is just go try to do some stuff and see what you like and see what you don't like. And being at a big company like Franklin was great. It gave me this little experience of like what it's like to work in a big company with a bunch of HR and, process and whatever. And I'm like, that's not me. Uh, at least, it wasn't at that time. And I kind of had this little entrepreneurial spirit, or quite a bit of one, probably stems from my father and, my childhood and whatever, just growing up in Reading and just inquisition. And so, I jumped into a startup. I was the third employee, worked there for a good period of time. We had a nice little run. And then I left there to start my own in 2006 and raised money from Sequoia Capital for that entity, and had a few little ones in between, and then both after. And yeah, that's it, man. I still don't know what I do. I'm like, just be present. So
Yeah, interesting. It is so interesting to I worked at a little startup in the East Bay as my first job out of college. And it's interesting to be around people with that entrepreneurial spirit. My wife owns her own small businesses, and I would say she has that spirit as well. But the Bay Area specifically is such a innovative place. Pridefully, I tell people who aren't from here, like, you're welcome for everything you're using, and
yeah,
um, and yet, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. There's a lot of competitiveness that can turn to unhealthiness. There's a lot of um, just like a sport or a team, like that's trying to be great. A lot of these companies, as you know way better than us, want to be great. They want to help. They want to be profitable and everything in between. And so I'm interested in the entrepreneurial spirit for a youth sports organization, one that I've known about since the beginning. We chatted at the game a couple weeks ago about Patrick Walsh at Sarah High School, who I know you run this with, and early on, kind of hearing about his involvement, and then just like slowly but surely, it becoming larger and larger, and maybe not so slowly. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a special connection with UC Davis in there too. But for our listeners who aren't as familiar with Next Level Sports, just share what the organization is about, what you guys do, and I would say go back to the origin of it for yourself.
yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Yeah, to be able to take, I mean, let me bridge it from, that entrepreneur side. Again, and I think I'll jump off there from like the Silicon Valley stuff and whatnot. When you live in the ecosystem and you live in this like, I can only give it from my lens, but when you live in this like, I don't want to call it fast paced, but like mentally fast paced, you're always, you can question status quo, right? I think the culture, I feel like the culture has always been, or at least the culture to me in Silicon Valley, or just down here in the Bay Area, has always been that you can break. I'm going to use the word. You can break shit. Break shit and figure things out, and it's an ecosystem that allows you to do that if you're fortunate enough to be in that, right, or to push that, or if you want to jump in. And um, you know, I it's funny because when I travel a lot and I'm in a lot of different states, and I have some great friends in Fort Worth and Dallas and Nashville and here and there. And when you get outside of the ecosystem, you don't, there are places that are like Silicon Valley, but they're they're much smaller, you know, or like if you're in Austin, I'm sure I haven't been to Austin in a long time, but there's feelings. I mean, there's epicenters like that throughout the country and whatnot too. In New York, for sure, New York's never sleeps, right? And I think it's very unique when you're in a place and you get this catalyst and this energy to go and to build and construct and to break down and ask questions and to kind of prove like, hey, you know, there is no boundary, there's barrier. If there is, you can find some capital or you can build a company, you can plow through it and you can break things, you can innovate, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is break things and innovate. And you know, I think I'm at a personal level, I'm incredibly fortunate that like I've always had the opportunity to go do that type of thing. I've either put myself in a position or that's just the way that I'm wired, and you sacrifice some things along the way. You know, with Next Level, man, it just brings together like all that stuff we talked about growing up in Reading. And, you know, I met Patrick when our kids were in preschool together. And, you know, there was one of the teachers there was like, oh yeah, there's another dad here that surfs. I was big into surfing at the time. I surfed a lot. I lived in San Francisco. You know, we had two young kids, a 2.5-year-old and a half-year-old. I guess that's a 6-month-old or something like that, right? Or 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, something. Anyway, you know, so I was surfing less because I was working a lot and trying to be dad and all that. And anyway, one of the teachers was like, oh yeah, there's another guy that surfs. I'm like, dude, there's no other guy that surfs here. And anyway, it was Patrick, and we met, and you know, I took him on a surf trip and we headed off to Mexico, some place that I go to. At that time I went quite often and had a couple other buddies there. And anyway, you know, I think I'd sold I'd sold the startup a couple years prior. I was working on another, like an education-based startup. And then I had like a media company that these media entities that I was running. And, we were talking, and you know, Patrick was like, hey, like, you know, love it if you could look at like my tackle football camp business. And it was mostly padded camps. And he had this thing that operated down here called the Next Level Stars. And, you know, I just saw there was just this congruency. It was peak concussion time, right? Like this is in 2000, like 2011, 2010 to 2013. It was like, remember you guys were at Davis then, no? Yes, you know, I mean, come on, like this is peak concussion world. Like you know, somebody grazes your helmet, it's like, oh my God, he could die. You know, but and rightfully so, because I mean, you saw the stuff that was happening on the football field. Ray Lewis, guys like still, this is like coming off the era of the Ronnie Lotts and just these guys that were just annihilating people on the field. And it became you know, it's a thing. And so concussion awareness became like in the mainstream media and the mainstream consciousness. And you know, so I think what happened, and get a little long-winded within Next Level, but padded football, tackle football, the participation numbers started to drop pretty significantly, both in the state of California. They started to drop for the first time in Texas. And it was just like, hey, is this really safe? At the same time as being a young parent, you had a lot of people from the East Coast or from, you know, across the country were coming in from whatever when they had kids. And a lot of people were talking about lacrosse or putting their kids in lacrosse. Oddly, I did play club lacrosse a couple of years at Davis and love that sport, but I'm like, it's not football. And football is the ultimate team sport, the ultimate passion, as you guys know. And anyway, hanging with Patrick, and we're like, look, like it's flag football, man. The future of football right now in our ecosystem is not going to be like Pop Warner's just dying. It's being run into the ground, and it's now kind of on a rebirth a little bit, but it was like, how do we give kids a really great opportunity to get out and play a sport and do it in a really, really, really exciting, and like make it very experiential, make it about having them having a good time, right? And loving a game and loving a sport. Football is just, it's an easy environment to do that. So, you know, those are the early days of putting that together. We had, you know, the first year we had one location. It was there at Sarah High School. We had 300 kids in the program. They were all directly from the community. And that's really the nature of it. I'll give you a little sales pitch. I mean, the Next Level angle is that, you know, kids play in their own community, right? So, it's not like club sports, like club soccer, where you're traveling to, you know, the Central Coast, or you're traveling up to Sacramento, Davis, or you're traveling to LA, or you're flying to Vegas. Everything we do is roots in the community, right? And you know, Rocky talked about that connectivity with Davis. You know, now some years past, we've been able to partner. Of course, where do I want to go back to my home, my places of home, and Davis is a huge place in my heart and a huge place in my home. And with Coach Plow being there, we brought the flag football program there to Davis, and the kids play in, UC Davis Health Stadium. They're coached by the student athletes from UC Davis football. And then it's roots, man. It's the purity of the game, and you do it in a safe way, but you do it in an aggressive, competitive way. To me, I think of nothing better than you get these student athletes, especially the quality of the guys like yourselves, and hopefully, me too, and the guys that are there now, is like these student athletes are coaching the UC Davis student athletes are coaching the kids on the field. And it's like this transgression of things as they get coached by coaches. They've been coached up through their entire life, and now they get to give back to the community and be that same thing and be a mentor to kids in the Davis and in surrounding areas. So, it's cool. Honestly, it's so cool that I get to do what I do. And, the company has been very successful over time, and it took us a long time to get to this point of scale, but now we operate in 25 states. We're based here in San Mateo, and our roots are in Davis. Our roots are in the Bay Area, and I love what we get to do.
It's so wild because that ecosystem that you talked about, part of it is seeing what's coming. And that's often what allows organizations to really hit, right? Whether it's a .com boom, whether it's, AI, whatever it is, like seeing what's coming. And so for you in 2011 roundabouts, as Brock and I are, winding down our careers with, Brock's helmet has a lot more. Yeah. Bring that helmet in here.
Let's see it.
Look at that thing.
Man, look at that thing.
Look at all the,
Oh, dude, that's so pure. How many layers of paint we got on that thing? Wait, I want to see the face mask. Let's show the audience the face mask. Come on. Put it on. You got to put it on. Have you ever put that on the podcast? Have you ever worn that during the podcast?
Brock might have had to oil that thing down to get it on.
We'll do, I'll do an entire episode wearing it if we beat Montana State. I'll do the reaction podcast. We have a 15% chance of beating Montana State, and so a 15% chance. Yeah, I'll put that bad boy on and relive the CTE I received through it.
Coach, that's the wrong attitude. We have a 50% chance of beating Montana State.
There we go.
Come on.
Come on, man. We're not talking Dumb or Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance.
Well,
we're talking 50-50. We're talking.
This is a big weekend for Next Level too. This is big sky on big sky crime. Like there's just 2 represented programs going toe to toe in Bozeman this weekend. Like
that's amazing.
This back half of this, we got to get excited. The football energy needs to come out the rest of this back half. Come on.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dwight, you were saying?
I love that. No, I was talking about the visionary piece of it, and whether it's visionary or you take a bet, right? And you look at the landscape for flag now. I was just at our teammate, my dear friend Pat Shelton's, coaching his 6-year-old daughter here locally in flag, and like sending us videos of her scoring touchdowns. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I think about too, like the gender component in sports and women's sports. And you've got the NFL, you've got the Olympics, Next Level. So talk a little bit about like how you've seen, and then we'll get into UC Davis stuff, but how you've seen, the growth of flag kind of open up doors of opportunity for folks, and what role Next Level has played in that.
Yeah. I mean, man, you're like, whew, God, there's 3 things in there that are just like so like profound. And I mean, first and foremost, as you talk about the young female athletes, like your daughter being 3, like, I mean, girls flag football, the advent and the proliferation of girls flag football, it's been played. Girls flag football, women's flag football has been a thing in the United States, especially like in Florida for like 20, 25 years, if not longer. And, so it's like this catalyst, and we're going to have it in the world stage, in a couple years time in 28 in LA. And, I think the women's side of it's going to be way more profound. I think, everybody wants to talk about the NFL players playing in it, which I think is going to be exciting. It's going to be cool. But I think the women's side of it is like, it's 10x as exciting. I think, if there's a way, I've always said this, is if there's a way to globalize the game, right? Like think about, and I don't know if you guys played soccer growing up or whatever, but you think about like soccer's so much bigger. It is such a bigger sport internationally than American football. Now, people love things Americana, right? They love things Coca-Cola, McDonald's, like football. We can stop there. I mean, that's inverse top 3, by the way. It's football, McDonald's, something like that. At least we want it to be. But I think there's a super strong cultural aspect of it that's outside of our borders. But you guys know it because you lived it. Like, it's part of our culture growing up. It's part of something. It's part of me wanting to be Jason Sehorn when he was like my hero when he was in junior college, right? It's like, it's been the structure of our lives and the fabric of our lives for a long time in some way, shape, or form. And um, you can immortalize yourself with Dwight Clark, the catch, Joe Montana for those 49ers fans. I mean, if you're a 49er fan, you have seen that photo and that image 10,000 times, if not more, right? And you think about the opportunity that young kids get this day and age to play sports, or that it's present, it's available. And now with girls, like, how cool is it that young girls from age 5, your daughter Dwight, to get her a football in her hand, right? I mean, there's no barrier. So take that into that entrepreneur thing and whatnot and apply it there. There's no barrier. There's no boundary. Like with soccer, you just need a soccer ball. You don't even need any cleats. You can go kick a ball around. You need to step on some rocks. It hurts. Teaches us some toughness, right? Rub some dirt in it. Put Dwight's helmet on, or Brock's helmet on. You go. I can see Dwight's in the background too. Love it.
It's
Yeah.
clean.
So I
nothing
think
on it. It's friggin' brand new.
it's got no dings over there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Speed, too much speed,
Dude, it's the globalization of the game. It's on the cusp of, and again, how much does it really entrench? Are we going to be seeing kids in Argentina or in, whatever, New Zealand? Yeah. I mean, I think slowly you're still going to see the adoption, and I think it's there for us to showcase it and show it. And it's a great game. It's an easy game to learn. The barrier of entry is really, really low. And is there a better team sport than football? I mean, you got 11 dudes on one side of the ball. You got 11 people that got to work in harmony, got to work together. Flag football at 5, at 6, at 7, whatever, but it's still a team. And basketball flows the same way, right? I mean, it's a little bit different than like baseball, where it's an individual sport and until it's not. And then you got, plays and, things, you got to throw the ball, turn double play or whatever. But it's really cool to see the emotion of it. It's really cool to see like people gravitate towards it. I mean, we as an organization, individually, I know Patrick, myself, and we couldn't be more behind girls flag football. I mean, and flag football in general, of course, but the movement for girls is so empowering. I have my daughter's a freshman in college, so she played the last 2 years of her high school. She played quarterback, she played wide receiver, and dude, it was so empowering, super cool to see her teammates out there, and just having a pure love of the game. And I think that's the cool thing for girls, is that you look at girls that are right now playing, they've been playing other sports growing up, and they've been on that AAU circuit or club circuit or whatever. And it's refreshing that they get to go over and play flag football at the high school level and just compete with pure emotion. It's so badass. So anyway, sorry to dwell on the girls side, but I love it,
No, I love
And again,
it.
what do we need? We need a set of flags, and we need some, we need we need a ball, and we need a playbook, You can,
the availability.
you
is
draw
so nice.
plays,
And
man. Draw plays in this.
yeah, it reminds me of the availability and like ease of access as soccer, and another thing that, because we always say like football, I say it all the time on this, like, it can't be replicated. I can go play old man basketball. I can go play volleyball in the gym. I can go do a lot of different things, but like football in the way that we played the 11 on 11 can't be replicated. Flag, you can do it when you keep getting older in life, and soccer, same thing, and certain other sports, same thing. And I think, even locally here in Martinez, which of course you guys have a site at Alhambra High School, and I always hear good things. The AD at Alhambra, Anthony Artola, is a good friend of mine, and he always talk, and driving past it on Sundays, it's just a zoo there. Like, there's just kids everywhere, and I think it's been interesting at the high school level. Like, I announced the boys tackle football games the last couple of years, but I proved my medal with the girls flag football 3 years ago. And that was the first year it was a CIF
Nice.
sport. And I had a blast. Like, there was a ton of talent. The La Miranda schools, I remember even Cal High coming in out of San Ramon. Like, they had, I don't know, 40 girls on that varsity team, and they were just so dialed and organized and well coached, and was really impressed with what they could do in terms of going back to soccer. Something that, and I've geeked out about MLS on this before. So Lance, you wouldn't expect it, but I'm a big soccer guy. And since the 96 World Cup in the United States, that was the moment that MLS started, like Dwight talked about, like that spirit of like, where's the opportunity? Let's capitalize on this moment. And we see that potentially with another World Cup coming next year. And MLS is still like, they're still having these conversations about like, how can we capitalize on it now? So you were ahead of the flag football craze, and yet the moment's coming in a couple years where like you will probably benefit from that being on this global stage. I guess I would just ask you, like, what are your thoughts specifically on this being an Olympic sport in 2028? And how do you see the impact of that for next level?
Yeah. I mean, let me bring it back around, right? Like, and you do these things. I mean, it's a cycle, the circle of life, I guess. And I hate to put myself on I'm a little bit closer to completing that circle. Um, which is kind of weird, but the circle of life, like, again, Reading, Jason Sehorn, growing up, Enterprise Eagles, being able to coach a middle school team, when I was in high school, playing flag football at Davis, being around the old Toomey Field and like all that it was and the influence of the tomb and this and like, now it's like, yeah, we run a prominent business. It's a very well-known brand. I mean, that's what it is. That's what Next Level is. But look, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to continue to push on this. If it's going to go, we're going to globalize this thing, we have a responsibility because we've built a really good thing, right? I mean, our product and our offering, the way we care about parents, the way we care about kids, I think our approach, we're doing something right? And we want to share those experiences and not just within our own barriers or our boundaries, if you will, or our boundaries of the United States. We operate in 25 states. Why aren't we operating in 30, 35, 36, 40, 50, whatever? It's kind of cold in Alaska. Okay. Notably. So there's only, we got about 6-week window up there. But what about international expansion and not so much from like the league perspective, but why aren't we doing grassroots stuff? I mean, if I ask you, and maybe I am, but I was like, hey, what are you guys doing next August? Like, do you want to go over and run a flag football clinic in Ireland? With for 100, 200 kids in Ireland. Would you want to do that? I mean, you guys are football guys. Dude, like, here's hey, Brock, Dwight, here's a whistle. Let's go. Here's the skills and drills we're going to do. This is what we're going to do for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's teaching the game of football, man. And you guys are in the same component of that. Would you, do you want to give back? Like, it's an opportunity for you to give back and inspire, at the grassroots level, people that are, I mean, yeah, maybe they play some other sport. They play soccer, they play golf, they play whatever sport it is they do. But I mean, how cool is it if you can teach them the game of American football, right? Like, we have that in front of us. And that's what the opportunity is going to exist. And like that, what I talk about there, that's a reality. We're having have a conversation with the organizers of the Aer Lingus Bowl. Next year is going to be TCU and UNC. Sonny Dykes, head football coach at TCU, has become a good friend of mine. And, I talked to him about it about a month and a half ago. I'm like, Coach, like, I'm running a clinic there. And he's like, of course, man. And it's like, so if we can get the TCU student athletes, we can get Brock, we can get Dwight, we can get, hey, man, grab your helmet, Dwight. Make sure you put some tissue around that and don't ding it up. But, but bring it. Let's go. Those kids in Ireland are going to be like, damn, look at this guy. It's just, look, that's our opportunity. That's the type of thing that's going to exist out there for us. Why wouldn't we step through that door? And I guess, bring it back into that Silicon Valleyism, and you bring it back into these types of things. Like, if it's there and the catalyst is there, why wouldn't you go do it? What am I going to sit back and watch and be like, oh no, it's cool. Like, it's hard. It's hard to go do that. It's hard. Yeah. Shit's hard out there, but man, it's doing it for the kids and like, let them go. Let's go grow the game together. Right. And it doesn't matter if it's, listen, I'm pubbing football. You guys are a football podcast. I mean, we do volleyball, we do basketball. It's the same thing. It's kids and giving them something to look forward to have to be inspired to go do and to play, right? And it's not being they're on their phone or playing Candy Crush or flipping through TikTok or brain rotting, which we all do. I did it, I'll sit there and brain rot for 20 minutes today on Instagram or something, but not saying that's the right thing to do. But there's sport out there and there's football to teach. So you guys want to go to Ireland or what?
Well,
Sign me up.
your vision's big, and I think that's it. Like I think people need, and we talk about this with coaches, like coaches set the vision, leaders of organizations set the vision, and you even joked around earlier, like, let's get some football energy in here, like we're playing Montana State, and we'll bring the juice. And yet there's got to be leaders that push things forward, and that dream something that like certain brains don't have, like they don't think outside uh, in that way. And so I love Sonny Dykes had his time at Cal and did what he could with like every other coach at Cal. They do what they can in the constraints of the system. And yet, yeah, took TCU to a national championship. That's awesome that they're a partner of yours, and I love that idea. That game gets a lot of shine because there's not a lot of games that weekend, right? And so that would be a sweet opportunity. If I could bring Easton with me, I think we'd put us on the plane and we'd go right there with you. There you go. I tried. Um, so that's kind of my one caveat. Dwight, you like that? I had to go for it a little bit. Uh, let's transition to another partner of yours, and these are the Bobcats of Montana State. I don't know how deep into FCS football you are, but they are, we would say, like one of the top four teams of the last decade. There's the Montanas, and then there's the North Dakota and South Dakota State. We feel like we've been in that tier 1A or that tier 2, like that 5 to 10 range, where we're very, very good, but it still feels like there's a decent chunk of separation. Without giving away our answers, because we will do our full preview at another time. What are your thoughts on UC Davis football? I mean, you were at a game a couple weeks ago. You have connection to the program through Next Level and being an alum, and yet you also are connected with like all these schools across the country. So, give us your thoughts on both UC Davis football and have that be a launching point to this week's, potential Big Sky Championship Part 2 from last year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, UC Davis has been, how great has the program been the last few years? Coach Plow, just absolute, like the energy in the building, the excitement around the program. It's palatable. I mean, we obviously had some great players come through there, land last year. Yeah, I mean, to have a running back of his caliber, to have a defense. Listen, Davis this year, I know they've been decimated with injuries, which is tough, but I mean, testament to the coaching staff and to the crew and even the players, like next man up, right? They've been competitive, and yeah, they suffered a loss, a couple weeks ago, and it's just when you're banged up, it's tough. You guys know it's like it's tough. It's tough to have congruency and to connectivity and whatnot, but these guys are playing with a ton of heart. I mean, listen, the quarterback, what an outstanding kid, two-sport athlete at Davis, right? Sacramento area kid from northern regions, if you will, the northern territories. We'll claim him up there, the Reddings and the what, but it's not that far. He's over on the other side. But I think what they're doing at UC Davis and with the athletic program, I think it's phenomenal. I love it. As an alumni, I mean, and this is maybe, can I give a call out to I want to call out some of the alumni out there. I mean, listen, Coach Plow, we got to get this. We got things cooking. As alumni, it's our responsibility to pull more alumni out and to bring them out. Like, let's do better things and more things for this program. And I don't think you guys brought me on here to say that, but I'm saying it. I'm going public with that, is like, yeah, I give some money back to the program. Let's go. Like, Davis doesn't, it's been rare. It's been rare over the years that Davis has had bright spots like this from an athletics program, right? And I know, look, our soccer program, whatnot, going to jump into the Mountain West, women's soccer, I think men's soccer too. And it's an exciting time. It was Division II when I was there, right? And you talk about FCS and FCS football. I think we have 5 partners in the FCS. North Dakota State, Montana State, of course, is a partner. NAU is a partner. There's probably a couple more in there that I'm forgetting. It only matters that we're UC Davis, right? So, yeah, and these like last year, and I watched through the playoff run last year, and these are moments. These are moments and opportunities. You play the game to get your opportunity to go and face a challenge like this, right? And whether you're beat up, whether you're healthy, whatever, this is a big time, big sky moment for the program. You show up, you represent, you play, you follow, you listen to your coaches, you execute. If you, hopefully you come out of there with a good showing, and of course you want the W. You want to win the game. I, I'd love to see a really, really good game. I mean, I don't know what the weather is. What's weather check? What's it going to be in Bozeman? Are we going to get the nice 50-degree day where it's going to be tolerable, or is it going to be 25 in the snow?
No,
The
you're
boys from
about in
Davis,
the
it might be kind
middle.
of cold. I don't know.
Yeah, you're about in the middle. So
Okay.
it was
Okay.
60. It was 60 for their game last Saturday. It's supposed to be high 30s with a chance of snow this Saturday. So all of our speedy little whiteouts going to be slipping around on ice potentially.
Hey, we got to play. We got to play physical. Then you got to put the pads down. You got to even up, and you got to square up, and you got to hit hard. You got to play fast. You as fast as you can. And again, I mean, how great. How great is it? I mean, let's just cut the crap with it. How great is it we can even have a conversation about this, about UC Davis football, right? Or UC Davis athletics. And again, a testament to Coach Plow and what's being built there, and hopefully we continue to build it, and he continues to have the leeway and the things necessary to add to nutrition, add to the impactfulness. I mean, those things matter, and kind of plug that a little bit. Like, I get to travel around. I mean, I'm supposed to be at Texas A&M, South Carolina, the game this weekend. So big SEC matchup, and I won't be in Bozeman. But if I wasn't, I wanted to be in Bozeman. And, when you go to these big time programs, you just see a different level. You see what they're dealing with. You see the weight room, you see the facilities, you see the nutrition factors, you see all the ingredients, you see everything that a big time program has. And like, you can see the delta and the differentiation as to why. And I think we should be blessed that we get really solid, holistic, like football in the Big Sky. It is like, hands down. I mean, yeah, all through it, is the level of football the same? No, I mean, it's different, but it's really good, and it's really competitive. And you're right. These North Dakota states, a North Dakota school, a South Dakota school, a Montana State, UC Davis. If you're going to add those four schools, and then UC Davis is the fifth school in the conversation, we're doing something right. Right. And I think that's where, Coach Plow, and I think that's where the positioning is. It's right there. It's not even an argument. And it's too bad they didn't get to finish the Mercer game at the beginning of the year. Mercer was ranked, and you're on the road, and it's hot and humid in Georgia, and or Alabama, wherever they played that game. And I guess it was outside of Atlanta, right? Anyway, so man, I'm hyped up on what UC Davis football is, and I think it's great. And to be partners with some of those programs, I'm just glad we're in the narrative. I'm glad we're in the piece. I'm glad we're in the conversation. And I hope that, we're committed to staying there, because we get in some really good student athletes, and to have the quality student athletes, especially on the high academic side that Davis is, it's an ideal place to come to school, like come play football. I was just up in Bend, Oregon. I was at Summit High School. I saw about 4 or 5 guys in the field. I'm like, and they're a partner of ours too. I'm like, hey, where are you going to school? What do you think about next year?
Yeah.
I know you're 6'5". You could play O-line at Davis. Hey, you're pretty nasty. You can come down from safety. Like, what are you doing next year? You want to go to USD? No. You're a Davis guy. Come on.
There you go.
I mean,
I love it.
hey, got to be
Lance,
recruiting.
We got recruiters everywhere.
I'm fired up, man. I mean, in one answer, in one answer, you're recruiting alums to get back engaged. You're recruiting future athletes. You've recruited both of us to Ireland. I mean, listen, man,
that's what I do.
This is awesome.
The Ireland thing didn't seem like it was very hard now, though. That was kind of
no. But that's, I mean, just to pick up on one of your points as we kind of get ready to wrap here. This is a special moment. It feels like a real moment, and it's built. There are building blocks. Our coach, Bob Biggs, what he did for the program, incredible. What Dan Hawkins did for the program, incredible. And then to have Coach Plow, who coached us in his first kind of coaching stint after he finished playing, come back and bring what he's brought to the program is really exciting. So I think like your call out to folks that are listening, whether they're, prospective folks looking at Davis, alums, just fans, This is a moment, not only this Saturday, but just pulling back a little bit, thinking about the trajectory of where UC Davis football, and to your point, Davis athletics is heading under the leadership of Rocco and others. And so just really appreciate kind of you putting those pieces together and your involvement. I think it's huge. Everyone needs to pick up a shovel here, and it's really cool to hear like your journey, right? From Reading, Jason Sehorn, the Aggie connection, what you built, what's coming in the future, and the way that Davis is connected along that whole path. I think about my experience as an athlete, and I wish that the next level partnership was there, because it's so huge. There's like the near peer dynamic that can change someone's life.
Mhm.
I've got some grays showing up in the beard. It's even different for me now working with youth than it is to have a 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-something-year-old that actually can connect and is in proximity, and to have that opportunity. I think we heard from Cole Batson, about like the role, him coming in early, being able to coach flag football. It's just providing opportunities for young people as they're in that figuring stuff out phase, and potentially changing a young person's life with a high five, with
Yeah.
a
Oh,
hug,
man.
with a coaching tip. And so yeah, it's just really powerful to hear about. What you're doing is incredible. And I would just ask, as we close out, like, when you think about the impact of Next Level, all these threads that you've woven into kind of what led you to do it, obviously along with Pat. But when you think about the impact now and you look ahead and what you want the story about Next Level to be when it's all said and done, what comes up for you?
Yeah. Great. That's, it was just the Oprah question, right? The the tearjerker. Yeah, I mean, we want it to be, I think we've had a little bit more eyesight on this in the last couple of years, especially post COVID, right? And then we want to leave a legacy. I mean, I think we want kids and youth to get back to their roots. We want to create memories, right? We want them to go out to the best of their ability and create memories for themselves in a dynamic and an environment for themselves that showcases what they've done. And it's like, you reference that as everybody can grab a shovel, right? Yeah, so long as we're given an opportunity to grab a shovel and to contribute. And you to kind of talk about that as like our responsibilities, like a UC Davis alum. Like, I got my shovel and I had my shovel for a long time, and nobody was letting me know where I could dig or whatever. And I'm just like, well, I'm gonna screw it. I get to a point like, I'm entitled. I'm gonna go dig over here. Now it's my responsibility to go grab some people. Like, I got a bunch of shovels. Grab your own shovel and come dig with me. Well, what about for kids too, right? It's their opportunity to go make those memories for themselves. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I think we'd like, that we're going to be fond of, or that we pass along the memory, is like, you really create some special moments in sport. And I mean, you think back on your lives, like youth, both all the way through college and playing, at Davis and whatnot, is like, you guys are still connected to the program. You're still connected to the game. You've created really like memorable, lasting relationships with people. You've learned about teamwork. You learned about all those core things that sports does. I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on this too, is like, one of the other kids that was in that preschool class with Cole Smith and Willie Walsh was Ty Richardson. Ty Richardson, your DB. He was in the preschool class before we started, right? He was a classmate of my son's. They competed against each other. You want to talk about some of the fiercest competitions that I've ever seen? Is the fastest two kids I've ever seen competed against each other at least one game a year. What about all the kids at San Marin High School or all the other places that are on your roster? There's probably 10, 15 kids that are on your roster that played Next Level. Teddy Buchanan. Remember Teddy Buchanan? Coached. He coached at SI when he was there, right? He did a cow. And I mean, to answer the question is, how about that for connectivity and to be able to be influential, kind of like what Little League and what these sports were for us as kids, to be influential to the kids when they're young, to have them graduate, they get into high school, they're able to go back and contribute and start coaching kids. And then maybe they go on to college and college athletic careers and they get to do it again. Right. And think about what that means now from a kid that's from 5 years old. Like, Dwight, we hope you get your daughter. I mean, man, we might get like from 5 until 18, man. She might be player coach. Like, this is the pathway. And I mean, what else do I need to say? Right. I mean, that it answers itself is to create those lasting memories. I mean, our team, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but our team's committed to that and committed to building out sports the way that sports should be and delivering things for parents. And like, we're immensely grateful. We're immensely grateful we get to do this. It's when you find something and look, I've looked, I peeled back all the layers, civil engineering, this, that. I'm from Reading, man. It don't matter. Like, I peel back, I grab a shovel. It's what you do. It's what you should keep doing, you know?
Yeah, I love
And
that.
and as much as I hate to say, like, against our partner, our partnerships at Bobcats, like, let's go get an Aggie victory this weekend. Let's go have a great game with a last minute Aggie victory.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Coach Vegan's not going to like that, but that's okay. He won't. I don't know if he's going to listen to the podcast, but it's okay. We want a competitive game, and we want the Aggies to eke it out at the end.
Yeah,
Come
well,
on.
hopefully it doesn't matter, but hopefully this pod doesn't end up being bullet board material for the Bobcats.
No, we got much love for the Bobcats. We got much love for the Bobcats football program, man. That's ultimate respect to what a great program and whatever too. We just want to be 1 point better this weekend.
That's right. That's right. Brock, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think really insightful time. It's a pleasure for us to get to hear people's journeys and stories and, all the different iterations of the human life. And you have a fascinating one. And to think of the impact as finished out with that the organization is making not only across the country, but at UC Davis specifically, like with UC Davis athletes. I mean, we have a lot of athletes follow us on social and they will post because you guys have great content, your stories from Next Level's account saying like, my team's undefeated. I think I saw like Cole Batson post something about my team's undefeated. And I immediately connected like, this guy's coaching at Next Level. And so just those little, anecdotes and connections, like you said, they're priceless. And yeah, as our kids grow up, like we know this is going to be a part of their life. And for those who are interested in checking out Next Level, we'll have a personalized link in the show notes that you guys can check out that Lance and his team have passed along our way. So Lance, thanks so much for joining, man. Really look forward to seeing you down the road and best of luck to the Ags this weekend, eh?
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me, and let's see each other on the sideline in one of these playoff games here coming up. How about that? That would be kind of
like a deal.
But again, thank you guys, man, and thank you for all that you do with the podcast and for having me on and whatnot too. So, let's get a big one this week, man. Lock in.
Go Ags. That's right.
Go Ags.
All right, guys.